YouTube. I haven't been around the internet past few days, well, at least not very much, because last week I got bad sinus trouble. Went and moved down into my chest like it normally does, for me anyway, and at the same time the air conditioner quit on my truck. So I was riding down the road at 100 degrees inside this cab, literally 100 degrees, and sick. So I limped this thing into the house, put it in the shop, and put myself into a NyQuil-induced coma for about 4 or 5 days, something like that. I don't know, I kind of lost track of time. But I have emerged from said coma. My air conditioner is fixed, and I'm back on the road. Before said NyQuil-induced coma, I got into a discussion with a couple of friends of mine about atheism versus religion. Now, I'm myself a Christian. These two people were atheists, skeptics, somewhere along that side of things. But the two people who will remain nameless that I got into this discussion with are two people who I can have this kind of discussion with them, and we're all still friends at the end, and we're not mad at each other. We can disagree, and that's okay. And that says a lot about these two individuals, and I wish I could give their names, but I'm not going to. So in this discussion, I made the it all come back to what I thought about it, and I said, well, look, I think atheists ignore or reject the spiritual realm. They just like to pretend it's not there. Now, I'm going to clarify that statement. That's what this video is about. And first, let me sort of define what I mean by the spiritual realm. I don't mean, tarot cards and crystal balls and being able to tell the future, and like Whoopi Goldberg in the movie Ghost, where she could contact the dead, or the dead could possess her and speak through her. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the only way I know to describe it, and this is not really a good example or a good way to go about describing it, but it's the best I have at the moment, is if you think about the theory that there are multiple dimensions. Okay, imagine this. Imagine that there is a spiritual dimension and a physical dimension, and these two are sandwiched on top of each other. They both sort of occupy the same space, but they are disconnected from one another for the most part. Now, we as human beings are sort of like the flesh and bone is a suit, like a space suit, an astronaut wears so he can live and work in that environment in space, or a scuba suit where a person can go underwater and live and survive and sort of affect that environment. Think of our bodies as like a suit for our spirits, sort of, and it allows us to both live and work in the physical world, but it means that we're two parts. We're part human as far as the flesh and blood here in the physical realm, but we also have a spiritual side to us that exists in the spiritual realm. That's kind of as best I can do to explain it. What I think atheists tend to do is that everyone has sort of an experience with this spiritual realm. Okay, it's there, and we all can sense it on a certain level. But what atheists tend to do is they tend to explain it away, or try to rationalize it away as something else. That this contact, and I don't mean like seeing a ghost, I mean like an extra sense, sort of. You can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it, you can't touch it, but you can sense it. And it's kind of like, okay, if you see something and it's really kind of odd or strange, and one person would be like, I saw that. I don't know what it was. I can't explain it, but I saw it. And an atheist would be like, I didn't see that. That had to be something else. Okay, it's not what I saw. It's something else, and they try to rationalize it or explain it away. Well, it's kind of sort of like that, but on a spiritual sense. they try to rationalize it or explain it away because they don't want to believe that they had some sort of contact like that or some sort of sensing something like that. So they don't want to believe it, or their mind automatically jumps to, well, that had to be something else because that doesn't exist. And it's not to say that atheists are bad people or that they're stupid or dumb, ignorant, anything like that. It's just that their mind tends to shift towards explaining it away instead of saying, wow, that was something kind of strange there. I don't know what that was, but it was something. They're like, no, that was, some chemical in my brain that did that or something. You get what I'm saying. But that doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that the ability to sense this spiritual realm is within all of us, but we can turn it off. We can train ourselves away from sensing it, and we can also train ourselves to be able to sense it better. Think about it like this. If you're sitting in your house, right, and you have an old-fashioned clock that ticks, well, you living in that house, you don't even hear it anymore. Whereas if I were to walk into your house and hear it click, 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 I would hear it, but you wouldn't. The sound is still there. It's not that the sound is there for me and not for you, but you have trained yourself to tune it out so you watch television or sleep or whatever. Well, on the other side of that, think about like a detective, okay? People walk through the world, we all see the same thing, but a detective has trained himself or herself to pick out certain things that a lot of people miss. It's just simply by, when we see something, our mind does not process every single thing we see. We only process certain things that we focus on. A detective has trained himself or herself to be able to catch the things that most people miss. It's sort of the same thing with the cuckoo clock or the detective. You can train yourself to tune it out, or you can train yourself to pick it up more than most average people. Atheists tend to train themselves to tune it out. That's my belief, that's my opinion. I cannot back any of this up with science, simply because science does not work well when trying to figure out things that have to do with the spiritual realm. I kind of think it's because we lack the technology, for one thing. Another thing is that science has deemed anything spiritual to be woo-woo, and we don't, science, we don't even want to talk about that kind of stuff. That's not even worth our time. Well, it's an important part of society, whether or not this spiritual realm is real. But scientists want to reject it. They don't want to talk about it. So I can't back any of my beliefs up on this with science, because science just simply does not have what it needs to talk about this. It's like trying to find, like looking through a telescope and looking up at the universe and saying, well, I don't see any evidence of extraterrestrials or evidence of any life form, so there's no life out there. It's only here on Earth. A scientist can't say that. A scientist will say, well, we don't know. But when it comes to the spiritual realm, a scientist who is being truthful and honest will simply say, we don't know. So it's left up to us, and I'm stating my beliefs on this, and it's not to say that atheists are bad people or anything like that, or stupid or dumb. It's just my beliefs on why atheists tend to say, well, I don't believe in that. So, I appreciate you all watching this. Thank you for how should I put this? Thank you for being open to listening to my opinions and still treating me with respect, especially to these two individuals that I'm talking about. We can have this dialogue and have this discussion and still be friends and still not, still respect each other. So I hope I cleared that up, and I look forward to the comments in the comment section. And thank you all, and have a good day.